Okay, good. So let's start with meditation. We're going to do the same Om meditation that we've been doing in the 4 parts. Ah at the base of the spine, oo at the heart and the throat, and opening the upper chakras. So we'll do it first out loud, and then we'll do it 9 times. We'll do it next whispering. The 3rd time, we still say the syllables inside and watch the energy rise. And the 4th time, we can do the same, or if we're at the point where we can just watch the energy, then we don't need the syllables. Or we can just say it the same way we sing it to ourselves. It's up to you, but we'll do it 4 times and then we'll regroup. So let's begin together. You don't have to take my pitch. You can do whatever pitch works for you. And you don't have to do my speed. You can do whatever speed works for you. And we'll begin. If you're finished, gently open your eyes just a crack, holding your attention in the back of your spine as you let the light in just a little bit. Continue to hold your attention inside along the entire length of your spine as you open your eyes a little bit further. Still holding your attention, open your eyes all the way and view the world from a position of complete connection to the inner. So your attention is still completely inside, even though your eyes are open. So you're holding the inner awareness as you allow the outer to be present. This is the opposite of how we usually view the world. Usually all our attention is outside and very little is inside. So to just hold this space as we come out of meditation so that we understand what it feels like to be inner-centric. Rather than outer-centric. It allows us to cultivate the possibility of being aware of where our attention actually is, so that we have the possibility of moving back and forth to the deep inner, even while we are participating in the outer, so that we can really be in a deeper contact, have access to the depth of our source that's ever increasing and ever expanding in its participation in our lives, so that we're really living from our source. This is a very important experience, how we come out of meditation. And if our meditation is truly deep and expanding our connection to our energetic resource, it doesn't need to take hours. Because it's about contact and depth of contact. And knowing where we are so that we can move freely to that depth of connection that we've cultivated and are ever cultivating deeper. So when we do this practice, if you've done it for a while, we've really focused on the feeling of following the energy upward. Now we want to bring the focus more, as you practice by yourself, into feeling the energy really in the spine. Feeling this centralized core called the sushumna, which is our central channel, so that we begin to become aware of it as a column of light. And we start to see that light as we cultivate the experience of ourselves as being light, which is what our source is and what we are at this source. And so as we cultivate our union, we want to experience ourselves as light. And white light is fine. If we see colors, that's also fine. We just want to cultivate the awareness of whatever's there for us at this moment. And it's quite natural for our mind to try to intercede with whatever thoughts have burrowed deeply into our consciousness in the last week. But whenever that happens and you notice it, just gently bring yourself back to the center, to the awareness of the energy rising, and begin again. So we're open for questions. We're so happy to be with you this morning. Completely delightful. Looks like a little bit of a gray day out, but it's certainly a bright day in. So we welcome your questions. What's happening with everybody? How's it going? Brenda, anything? Andrew? Yes.
Can you talk about the E sound?
The E sound. The E sound is actually it's the very high-pitched sound of the Om that we can perceive outside of ourselves. And it's also inside of ourselves. The way to work with it is to hold your attention in the center of your head, in the Ajna chakra, which is the third eye. So you hold your attention in the center of your head. You hear the E sound, and you allow that sound to merge with your beingness. And that very allowing, you'll notice, changes you. It brings in a higher frequency vibration, quite literally, to your upper chakra awareness. We're talking about the Om sound that is a very high-pitched wire sound. It sort of goes ee, way up there. And so you take your awareness to your third eye. And you just merge with that E sound. and allow it to open your upper chakras, the centers of awareness. And each of the chakras is like an energetic wheel. The first one is at the base of the spine, and it actually moves. It can go in either direction, but the most often movement is for it to circle like a wheel to the right. So from your inner perspective, it's going in this direction. And then the one above it just below the belly button. And then you take your attention all the way back to your spinal column. So it's about the third vertebrae or fourth. That also is a wheel that circles. And then the third one is at the solar plexus, just below the rib cage. And then there is the heart center, right in the center of the chest. Same thing. Then the throat center, same. Then the third eye in the center of the head. And then the top of the head, like a giant flower. Does that answer your question, Andrew? How may we serve further? Yes.
When doing Ho'oponopono, I don't feel the I love you. It feels insincere.
So how much do you love love itself? How much do you want to cultivate the experience of love, peace, joy, and gratitude that exists within you? This is what the I love you is speaking to when we say it. We are never, ever doing anything but speaking to our highest self when we say Ho'oponopono. We are saying, thank you for showing me any disconnect within me and the source of the all that is. Thank you for showing me where it's not working so that I can connect to this source of everything. And so the love is not love of anything, but source. And what greater purpose is there to any of our lives than connecting to that which is the source of everything we've ever felt in our lives. And the reason we concentrate on the love, peace, joy, and gratitude, well, just consider the alternatives for a second and you understand why we go in that direction. It's not that we're denying the other direction, but there's plenty of information in our outer lives to get us to shift our attention there. So every time you feel that it's insincere only to pay attention to the highest, just consider the alternative for a second, and you'll know why we focus there. Because that's where we want to live from. Anybody can live from stress and strain. We all do it because it's our default. But it takes real dedication, commitment, and the desire to evolve as a human being to live from higher. It's all about evolution, and it doesn't matter where we start. And it's endless. Doesn't matter where we get to. It only matters that we do our best. And Ho'oponopono is a tool to point us toward our best. And that it feels insincere and that you are willing to address that insincerity is a very positive sign of evolution, because it shows an inner awareness that, you know, what is this thing that doesn't want to really engage? And addressing that is the place where our work is. So fantastic question, fantastic understanding and personal honesty to ask the question. We bow to your self-inquiry. This is effective work. We hope we've answered your question. If we haven't, please ask further. We all have desire. The effective use of desire is desire to know ourselves fully. And that means coming into alignment with the highest. Ultimately, you use your mind to examine this concept. What else is going to take us where we want to go? Ultimately, what greater purpose could there be? How can we serve our own life and the life of the whole more effectively than being in total alignment? It doesn't matter whether that alignment is ever achieved, even for a second. Feeling it for a second, feeling pure love, makes us a slave to that forever. Because there's nothing better. And to know, to really know, what could be better? What could be more real than inner attention on wanting to know the highest, wanting to be in union with the highest? What other purpose can change your life from the inside out? We all attract whatever it is that we attract from our blueprint. There's nothing we can do about a large portion of it. The only thing we can do anything about is how we respond to it. This is our place of control. There is no other. And when we discipline ourselves to begin to really watch what comes in and what goes out, and to evolve in our perspective of how we view those experiences, then we are engaged in effective inner evolution. And having experienced Ho'oponopono work twice, because the first time we don't quite believe it, having it experienced it work twice gives us access to use this tool to uplift any negativity, any darkness we find within ourselves. And bringing darkness to light becomes our purpose. And yes, this is the world of duality. We can only experience the non-dual when we're not distracted into the dual. And so this union felt even for a moment is where the non-duality lives. Because the truth is non-duality, but only from its own perspective. To one without an inner focus, that sentence makes no sense. That's okay. It makes sense when it makes sense. And that's evolution. That's union. Dimensional reality, the awareness of other dimensions, is a gift that happens as we expand our awareness by taking it into conscious awareness on the inside with regular practice and experiencing our flow of energy on the inside and the gradual awareness of the energy centers, which is cultivated. They are all already there. It's our attention and the allowing of our inner and cultivating of our inner awareness that brings them into our inner reality. Imagine that each one of them is an old friend waiting to be reacquainted. and that it just requires our participation in our side of the conversation for this awareness to unfold. And you'll notice the sensation of different ones coming into your awareness at different times as you pay attention. And one day they will all begin to rotate in rhythm with each other. And that is a level of evolution that becomes available. And as we use our attention to go deeper in ourselves, these experiences become more and more a part of our inner landscape. We hope this is helpful. How may we serve further? And we'll say this, not being aware and sensing these experiences is not failure. It's like learning a language. You know, if you're not an expert after a year of studying German, who's going to call that failure? No one. That's just, it takes time. And the formula for inner work is very, very deep attention that you come back to over and over and over and over. And we can never, ever be attached to outcome. And this is true both in the inner and outer world. You know, anything that's ever accomplished in the outer world is the same. If you want to learn German, you have to study every day for years. And, you know, maybe after a number of years and a lot of practice, you begin to become fluent. Or you can go there and live there, and it happens faster. So it's about where we put our attention. So if we want our learning curve to go a little bit faster, it means we need to meditate more than once a day. And it has everything to do with the depth of our attention and the depth of our intention, both, because our awareness follows both our attention and our intention. So if we are intent on developing our inner awareness, now there's a little bit of a caution in here because very often when we talk about focused intention, what we do is we contract around something we want to get. And that very contraction, as we intentionally focus, well, intentionally focusing on expansion can be difficult. So we have to relax our intention can be very intense without being narrow. So this is kind of a juggling act, and the language is difficult, as it always is when we try to talk about things that are inner, because as three-dimensional human beings, our language is all about outer. So what we do is we really, the word discipline is maybe a better word, because that we take our attention inside and we bring it to these energy centers as points of focus, but not with a narrowing of intention, but a feeling that we're really allowing ourselves to become aware. So we just hold our attention in one place, like on one of these energy centers. Doesn't matter which one, although the heart's a very good one to cultivate. Because when it opens, it feels so good. So we just bring our attention there and we allow it to expand inside our chest. And we hold our attention there, not with the kind of gritting teeth attention, but with an expansion, a sense of lightness, so that we can allow whatever experience life wants to show us. So we're not exactly demanding, and yet we are cultivating. And we can even, say, please show me what it's right for me to see in this moment. There's no hurry about this, because this is not the realm of success and failure. This is the realm of awareness. And we're cultivating something that we have not known before. And so it's important to bring to it a sense of wonder. It's like somebody who's never felt the sensation of warm before. Somebody who's never tasted sugar. That's often an analogy they use in India, because everybody loves sugar. It's about cultivating experience you've never had before and allowing it. And it's really easy to get frustrated and angry that it's not exactly communicating yet. And we bring again the example of an old friend that you haven't seen for a long time. So very often the experiences that first arise are the complaints. Well, where have you been? So we say Ho'oponopono. And cultivating that sincerity is part of cultivating our desire and using the very fact that we have desire to go deeper within ourselves. We hope that's helpful. How may we serve further? And we don't know if it's helpful or not, but you know, it's taken Rebecca years to feel anything. So don't feel like, you know, if it doesn't happen in this moment, it's never going to happen. We're all made of this. Just keep breathing into those centers. Keep saying Ho'oponopono to whatever rises up to be healed. Because things only rise up because it's time for them to be healed. And this is how our evolution works. And all of us have evolved quite a bit to be in third dimensional reality. And the number 3 is in some ways very arbitrary because there are many, 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 many layers within third dimensional reality. You can use the image of an onion. And going to the center. And expanding outwards. And expanding inwards. In the final analysis, neither one is true, and they're both true. That is non-dual reality. In and out are the same. How may we serve further? Sorry, we seem to be getting quieter and quieter today. I hope you can all hear. We welcome your questions. We want to talk about what you want to talk about. Brenda, any? I keep asking because she's the one who gets the anonymous questions. We welcome your questions. Andrew.
Talk about the interface between the home sound or the E sound and the suffering and turmoil in home lives and all life. And it seems to me it's hard at this point to focus on the universal. The other sort of disappears sometimes. And I don't know if that's
So Andrew's question is very pertinent to all of us right now. He's saying that he wants to know how useful it is to concentrate on the deep inner experiences when there's so much turmoil in the outer world. And we all are experiencing this. It was a little bit easier during the pandemic when we had to stay home. It was easier to have an inner focus and not feel pulled in an outer direction. You know, now there's a war that feels close to home a lot because our media is concentrating on it, and we sympathize with the people in Ukraine. And so it feels like an extravagance to spend our focus, our attention, our awareness on inner work. And yet, every interaction that we have in the outer world is based on our inner perspective. So if we are not, as a matter of course, every day resolving our negativity into harmony, then we become part of the soup of projecting negativity outwards. And our reference points become polluted, we'll say, compared to having alignment as our purpose and the source from which we're expressing ourselves. We enter the world of homogenized disappointment. By homogenized, we mean our energy becomes mixed with all of that other disappointment out there. And what we are projecting is something other than possible evolution. And there is every force out there telling us that that's the only way to be. Because people who are connected to their own divinity, to the awareness of their own divinity, become autonomous because they are capable of sitting down and looking inside for the truth and acting on the truth. And what happens when we allow ourselves to be polarized into the outer world is that we become magnetized by whatever the most powerful forces are in our environment, rather than becoming, through our inner work, the most powerful force for ourselves to discover the truth, which makes us autonomous. We no longer can be magnetized by whatever's happening outside of us to change our behavior to be in alignment with that. Changing our behavior to alignment with that is the equivalent of, in its most extreme, participating in a riot. In its, what feels benign to us is going to the grocery store and getting mad because we're in line, because everybody else is mad because they're in line. This can happen very, very quickly to our inner environment if we allow it. So when we focus inside, we are freeing ourselves from the misconceptions of the forces that would magnetize us to put our attention elsewhere, most of which are based on the lowest common denominator outside of us. People who live in reaction to their experience in the outer world are reduced to the lowest common denominator of that world, which is an emotional experience that's largely based in frustration and disappointment. The only way out of that is to take our attention inside, cultivate this inner experience of union with the highest for ourselves, which is the common denominator of the highest for everybody. When we do that, we are removing ourselves from the participation of the chaos, which will quickly drop us into the mud. Quickly. And so there is an alternative to despair and disappointment, and that's inner work. And so this is what we're cultivating. We are really promoting within ourselves an alternative view of reality where love, peace, joy, and gratitude lead humanity into the fifth dimensional reality, which is where our evolution can go. And when we experience the sincerity of our love, that is when we experience the commitment that can take humanity to that other dimensional awareness. It's possible. We all know what it takes to change our focus inside and cultivate that higher. It's not really higher or lower. These things are all part of three-dimensional reality. It's not about higher and lower. It's actually about what truly works. The only way we can ever come to peace in our world is to come to peace in our world, internally. Then we reflect that, we are that. And that's true for every single human being. Now, our media is never going to pay attention to that because that's not what makes money. is simply what it is. Now, there is a tipping point where that will change, but we have to be so far past that tipping point before it will affect the media that we have no idea from our own personal perspective how many people hold this commitment to higher reality. It's actually way more than we think, because the world has changed a lot. And a lot of the violence that we're seeing, a lot of the reactivity that we're seeing is negativity coming up to be healed by the human collective. And how else can we heal it? How else can we heal the things within ourselves without the negativity rising up, so that we say Ho'oponopono and heal it? The same thing, as above, so below. Our outer world is bursting with chaos, negative chaos, to be healed. And so as we connect to our highest, we can actually go into an Anasa temple. We can call in the highest self of the Russian people and speak to that. Peace on earth. What a dilemma to be Russian in this moment. How do you behave? What does it mean? You know, we're pretty lucky in our alternatives of how we choose to behave in our culture at this moment. But we have way more power than we're using. If something is moving you to want to participate in something, go to an Anasa temple. Think big. Use your power of love to change the world. There's nothing that says that we can't speak to the Russian people as a collective in the Anasa temple. There's nothing that says we can't speak to Putin directly from the Anasa temple. We have power that we are cultivating that we're completely unaware of because we don't use it. The power of knowing what love is and using it to make more is more powerful than anything we could ever imagine. That's where our power really lies. It's in the unseen. This is what we're really cultivating. We're cultivating a new dimensional reality that we demand inside ourselves. And as we evolve, we share it with everybody we meet so that they do same. And as we evolve as a collective, we become more and more powerful to influence the whole through our commitment to love, peace, joy, gratitude, and that which is beyond. And we choose to live from that because we have carefully considered the alternatives, and none of them look better. We hope that's helpful. How may we serve further? Does that help, Andrew?
Does. I think you've answered this, but I guess part of my question is that if one goes into this, the Om space or this pure light, that sort of my experience sometimes is that everything disappears, it becomes that. And my question is, where does compassion come into play there? Because in a sense, there is no other, however, on another plane, there's, this, people suffering, and also the people that must be suffering to commit such cruelty. And so it's not just a question of it evoking negative feelings in me and then turning that into light. It's actually, anyway, I don't really know what I'm asking, but perhaps it seems to be that. And the interplay with that dimension,
So the question is this: what's the role of compassion in all of this confusion? Because Andrew says, I go inside and sometimes everything just turns to light. And then it doesn't make any difference. And then I come out and the world is total chaos. And what's the role of compassion? When you experience the world, when you experience your world as pure light, that is very convincing that non-dual reality exists. And then when you come back and you see all the suffering, the only thing you can do is have compassion and do your best in this moment to promote that light in every life your life touches. Because you know from your own experience that that light is the truth of what we are. So you know where peace is. Everything else dissolves. It's just pure white light. That's all there is. So we share that light with everyone we possibly can, because that's what compassion is bringing the whole, every part of the whole that we can possibly touch into this world of pure light. You answered your own question as you asked it. Does that make sense? And the truth, the real truth is that it doesn't matter if our quest is futile in the space of our own life. Because life is big. And a personal life is what it is. We just do our best. We don't have control over all of the circumstances. We never did. We only have control over where we put our attention. So we take our own stand every single day by committing ourselves to coming into alignment with the light. That's the best we can do for ourselves and for the whole. And as we embody that light more and more, then we become a beacon. What else can we do? And this is not success or failure, it's just a stage of evolution. Everything that we are exhibiting is our stage of evolution. And there is no stage that's higher or lower. It's just where we are. And we just do our best. That's all we can. We totally accept our responsibility for ourselves. And we do our best to become the light itself. And we make light of it when we fall short. Happens to all of us every day. It's okay. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be here. That's the absolute truth. We would be evolved beyond it. So it's a joke. And we can either grind ourselves up with that awareness or laugh. We prefer laughter. So we've reached our time where we get to meditate more. So we're going to give you a few more cues. And it actually helps to take your attention back in your body. So you're right in front of your vertebral column, like right up next to it. That's where you put your attention as you watch the energy rise. And you visualize a column of light right there. And you say you do the exact same process that we did in the beginning, but now you do it without any sound. You just say, as you watch the energy come up, you just say it inside yourself and focus on that flow. So we're going to close our eyes because your union is with your inner. We will still be projecting our energy, but this is really about each of us and our relationship to our inner. It's not about anything outside of us. We will project so that you can feel this as well. So take a deep breath and take your energy inside, and we'll all join this process. Thank you so much for coming today. Mm. We've completely enjoyed spending time with you. It's delightful for us. Mm. Thank you so much. Bye for now, everybody. We love seeing your faces.